Moon has come, the day is done, the night has covered up the sun. I have stood so often before you to pray, but I wonder, oh Lord, tell me, what did I do today? Did I remember the words of Al-Fatiha? Did I take time to thank you for all that I have? Did I call on you to guide my way? Tell me, what did I do today?
Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Welcome back to another episode of Back to Basics. I'm your host, Abdul Saeed, and I have with me in the studio again today our special guest, Dr. Mamdouh Mohamed. Dr. Mamdouh, welcome. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Mamdouh Mohamed is a former professor at Johns Hopkins University. He is the current director for Arrow for Consulting and Training. He has worked in several universities across the globe, and he travels extensively as far east as Indonesia and as far west as the United States of America, delivering lectures related to education and dawah. Dr. Mamdouh, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
As usual, our discussions mainly revolve around education and improving ourselves and the status of our children in schools and so forth. But is there a differentiation that we can make between children and students?
The concept itself of differentiation was known very early. Mm-hmm. But in a new sense, it's considered a new concept in a way that how to deal with different groups of students with different abilities mm-hmm. at the same time in one classroom.
Okay.
Because you have 20 students in your class, 3 of them are high achievers, mm-hmm. 4 of them are low achievers, and the rest is average achievers.
Okay.
When you teach the class, most of the teachers, if not all of them, they teach to the average student.
Okay.
In other words, they don't pay a lot of attention, they don't have a real focus on the high achievers, and they don't have focus on low achievers.
Okay.
They focus on the average achievers.
Yeah.
If this is the case in every class and in every school and in a whole country, the result is disastrous. Mm-hmm. In terms of all students would be average. In other words, when students graduate, there will be no leaders. Mm-hmm. And the one who really benefits and not could benefit is the middle achievers.
The average person.
The average person. And the low achievers are losers as mm-hmm. well. What happens in a society like this, we lack
true leadership.
The quality of true leadership. We need to upgrade those high achievers mm-hmm. to levels that they can pull up the others to their level. Mm-hmm. They can direct and guide the whole society.
So you'd say that focusing on the higher achievers is actually more important than even focusing on the underachievers?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said that this will result in, yes, a lack of leadership.
Well, because if there's a good leadership, it'll essentially...
Those ones, if we don't focus on them, if we don't give them prior or proper attention, mm-hmm. the low achievers, they will pull down the society.
Okay.
So the society is going which direction? Up or down? Down.
Or staying the same if we just focus on the middle?
No.
No.
Because...
If we focus on the middle without the lower, then...
yeah, they will be affected by the lower.
Okay.
You need double the effort from the middle achiever to raise
the lower
achiever. But the reality is the low achievers are pulling down the whole class.
Okay.
What educators and what principals expect and what we expect from teachers is that we need a teacher, one teacher, to play the role of 3 teachers at one time. We need a very qualified teacher who can plan his or her lesson ahead of time to meet the needs of the 3 groups of students.
Okay.
The high achievers, the low achievers, and the middle achievers. In other words, as if he is preparing 3 plans for one lesson.
Do you mean by one lesson, do you mean one class, or
One
do you
class.
mean one?
I mean by one class.
So each class, he should be able to, or she should be able to divide their time and divide their efforts equally between the 3 different groups.
Not necessarily
Not necessarily equally,
yes,
according
yes.
to the amount of students
Yes.
that are each.
For example,
Okay.
yes, in the teaching methods, and that's why we talk about diversing teaching methods, using a wide range of different methods, so each student can learn according to his own ability.
Okay.
And that's why some students are visual, so they can learn from the video clips, for example. And this usually the low achievers,
Yeah.
they need something moving, they need something, So if I change the methods of teaching, I'm addressing the needs of all these.
Okay.
If I'm giving tasks, I would give hard tasks to the students who are high achievers. Why? Because they can do the tasks here and the activities here of those students very easily.
Yeah.
So they will do that and they will sit down doing nothing. And we've seen this, and this is a sign that the teacher does not know how to differentiate. The good teacher is the one who always have something ready for those students. Once they finish
So you're saying
their
those students
tasks,
should have something extra too.
extra, and ready in the class. Once they finish this, they give them another one,
Yeah.
which should be in level higher than the level of the average.
Could they also use those higher students or higher achieving students to take over as part of, as an assistant, if you will? So for example, they give them something extra and they can have them perhaps explain that extra thing to the rest of the class?
Yeah, if there is need, but there is no need. Let them
Okay.
work at their own pace,
Okay.
because we want to meet their needs.
But we also want to train them to be good leaders, right?
Absolutely, but in some cases we do need that.
Okay.
As I said. So now the teacher's focus is here, and he would leave, if those students, the middle achievers and the high achievers, can work by themselves, that means most of the time of the teacher will be spent with the low achievers,
Yeah.
because they need more help,
They need
more
attention.
support.
Yeah. So the higher achievers need more work, more things to challenge them,
Yeah.
and the lower achievers need
You
more
brought
attention.
the right word, which is challenge.
Yeah.
We need to challenge the students. If you give the students a kind of teaching that's within their limits, within their average, within their ability,
Yeah.
they are not learning. It's always, teaching is about one step ahead of them.
Yeah.
And here is one step ahead of them, one step ahead of those, one step. Those smart students, we can give them 2 steps ahead of them.
Yeah.
This is the challenge.
And for the average student,
It's always one step ahead of them.
one step. Okay. And for
It
the
should
smart
be
students,
ahead
two
of
heads?
them. It should not be on the same level.
And for the underachievers, the same level?
No.
Also
the
ahead.
same thing, one step ahead, because they would learn. Otherwise, if it is on their level, they are not
They're
learning.
not really learning, yeah.
Yeah.
So then their differentiation is basically
Here.
give them more attention and give them
3
activities that apply more
categories.
to how they're used to.
We differentiate in the questions that we ask.
Yeah.
We ask those students kind of questions that meet their needs.
Yeah.
Those ones we ask them easy questions, usually closed questions. These ones are very open questions
Yeah.
that broaden their mind, and so on and so forth. So we need a teacher multiplied by 3.
So are you saying that it's plausible to have a teacher multiplied by 3? And if it is it preferable to have 2 or 3 teachers in a classroom?
No, it's preferable to have a qualified one teacher
Okay.
who can play the role of 3 teachers.
Okay. So that
And
requires
this is-
special training, which we discussed in
Yeah,
the previous
definitely.
episode. Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why we have sometimes teacher assistant.
Okay.
If the teacher assistant is well trained, he or she can take care of either the higher level or the lowest level.
Yeah.
So this assistant teacher is not as people think that they help the students cool down, they arrange and organize the class.
They print the
They
documents.
should give them tasks that they are very well defined to do a good job academically.
Okay.
So this concept of differentiation, really, it is in Islam. It is in the saying that deal with people in different ways, right?
At their own level. Yeah.
At their own level. Don't address those people the same way you address those people. أتحبون أن يكذب الله ورسوله? Do you like that people would belie, would not accept the message, the saying of Allah and His Messenger because they don't understand? So when you explain it to them, explain it in a very simple way to the low achievers. When you talk about high achievers, you can ask them tough questions, like challenging questions, like the one that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, can't you recite the whole Quran per day? So they said that they investigated the question, how can we do this? And usually it takes more than 8 hours or 10 hours, and we are busy with other things. So the Prophet ﷺ, this is how he introduced, he wanted to help
introduce
them.
the topic to teach them something they didn't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so here, there's something that we should do it in classes. And
Get those questions that just build their curiosity.
yes.
Like you mentioned, I believe in a previous discussion, you mentioned a teacher who did something exemplary in this regards. They had mentioned, if you want to recall, they had mentioned they were reading a book, and I believe that she asked the students, I can't recall the
about
exact
the
question.
characters, the main.
About the main characters, how would they have knocked, or how would they have opened the door?
Yeah.
Something very specific.
Something like, who would open the door?
Yeah, who would open the door from the main characters?
Who
And
would finish his glass first?
Yeah.
Among those characters.
And the first thing is she had the actual students play out something in that regard. So she had someone go knock on the classroom door to connect it to their circumstance.
Yes.
Yeah.
The more the teacher creates these kinds of questions, the more his students will be smart. And we need those teachers.
Yeah.
By the same token, we should do the same thing at home.
Well, that's what I was going to get into. I was going to say...
A father or mother should deal with the children differently. And I usually use this hand. Look at this hand. You see how those children are from one source, the father and the mother, yet they are different.
Yeah.
Look, this is totally different from this one. So when I deal with this, when I give this task, I know that the task that this one takes is according to his needs and capabilities, which is different from the task that's given to this one, which is different from the task that's given to this, because this is very, very mobile and very, yes, it can do many things. Right? So the same way, this is how we should look at the world that we live in. People are different. You cannot ask this person to do the job of that person. You cannot ask this student to do the task of this student. If the parents, they would not say this common statement, you see, his other brother used to do this, and this is different. They are not identical.
I hate to interrupt, but we're going to have to go to a break, but we'll continue right after that, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan.
Barakallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Alaikum
barakatuh.
assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says, on all who spend in good cause.
It's welcome again from me, from your host Ismail Bullock, and from your host
Gabriel Romani. The parents have to encourage their kids to get married, and at the same time, support them.
What many people don't understand is that seeking knowledge in itself is ibadah. And Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu says, لَأَنْ أَطْلُبُ الْعِلْمَ سَاعَةً أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ مِنْ أَلْفِ رَكَعَةٍ. That I seek knowledge for an hour is better and more beloved than ألف rak'ah, which means 1,000 rak'ah.
The real meaning of La ilaha illallah It's not there's no God but God.
صح.
لا معبود بحق إلا الله.
سبحان.
That is, if you want to note it down, that is the real meaning of La ilaha illallah. There is none worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
I remember as a Christian, when I was a Christian before, you know, they have this whole issue of you know, your cross, you know, you have to wear your cross, this will protect you, and if it breaks, you know, something wrong will happen to you, and, you know, the icons, and, you know, put an icon in your wallet.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and welcome back to the show, Back to Basics. We have with us in the studio today Dr. Mamdouh Mohamed. Dr. Mamdouh, welcome back. Just before the break, we were discussing differentiation between different students and their different needs, and then you brought it back home, literally back home, to how we can differentiate between how we raise our children and how our children have different needs and abilities, and we shouldn't treat them all as one. And then you were starting to expand on society as a whole, and how even socially, we shouldn't expect the same from every member of our society. Can you expand on that a bit, please, and give some examples?
Yeah, Jazakallah khair.
Oh, yeah.
And first of all, when we talk about differentiation, there's something that is considered a prerequisite before differentiation. It's something that relates to knowing your students, or knowing your children, or knowing the members of the society well.
Okay.
I, as a teacher, I should know my students very well. Mm-hmm. Either by diagnostic tests, or either by close observation and taking notes until I know that my student, this student, is very good at this and this and this, but is not as good in this and this and this. Yeah. To that level. So even in one student, although he is classified as a high achiever, I need to get more details. The more I know about my student, the more I know about my child, the more I can give him tasks that suit his abilities.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that we have to know more about the person before we can approach them. There's actually a hadith that I can recall in that regards, is where the Prophet ﷺ sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen to call the people to Islam.
Yeah, because he
taught him who are the people you're going to meet, and then he even taught them priorities.
He selected Mu'adh ibn Jabal because he is from Yemen, and he knew his people.
And he reminded him that you're going to come across people of the book.
Yes.
So that the first thing you call them to,
information
that
about
they worship
them,
Allah alone, and that they accept Muhammad ﷺ as a prophet.
So here it shows that the Prophet ﷺ selected the right man for the right mission. If you know your people as a leader, you know this person and this person and this person, you can assign him a task. The same thing happened with Prophet Muhammad ﷺ when he sent Usama ibn Zayd, right, in an army that had Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar. So he put them on the top. He was 16 or 17 years old. Yet he selected him for this mission because the Prophet ﷺ knew him. He knew his companions very well. And this is a good quality of a leader.
And you mentioned differentiation. It's also interesting to point out that for the Prophet ﷺ, he made every companion feel like he was the most important person to him.
This is another thing.
So the point where,
get the students to love you.
Feel appreciated,
To be appreciated by you, because you need to get into their hearts.
Yeah.
The same thing that you do at home with your children. Yes, don't let the children feel jealous that you love this person more than that you love this person. The same thing that happens in the classroom. So these are considered prerequisites for differentiation.
Okay.
So differentiation is something relatively new, and I think it needs to be addressed seriously.
You say new, you mean in the past couple of generations?
In the past, people did do it. They did differentiate, but this was not based on scientific facts.
Okay.
Now, the more awareness they get into it, and the more training, because the most difficult part is how to select tasks or prepare tasks, prepare activities that match that matches their needs.
Yeah.
So, as groups, then yet within each group there are some difference. In other words, they tell the teachers, listen, we expect you to be 3 teachers in one, or 5 teachers in one.
They're going to say,
or
okay,
10
I
teachers in
want
one.
3 teacher salaries in one.
Yeah, and that's why those kind of teachers are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They would not accept a normal salary.
Okay.
And the leadership of a school, of a given school, if they want to achieve well, they need to invest on those teachers. If they
So what
invest-
can public schools hope to accomplish with a limited budget?
As I said, public schools, as it sounds, it's public, it's sponsored by the government usually.
Especially in poorer countries where the government doesn't have a huge
Yeah.
budget for the school.
And it, let's say something. Is it possible that in one country, in a given country, we have all the schools that are private schools? Can we do that?
You mean
Yes, we
privatize
can.
the entire education industry?
Why not? This is one way of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
if possible. If a country can do this, and the government can take care of specific schools,
Yeah.
as they do now and they call them ideal schools, or
Okay.
yes, exemplary schools, or whatever they call them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we are after quality.
Mm-hmm.
If the quality is dropped in education, you can expect the whole standard of the country will be dropped.
Okay, but isn't there a conflict there, whereas regards of if a poor country, for example, they're lacking a decent budget in order to improve the quality of public schools,
Yes.
if the country is poor in itself, then wouldn't people also not be able to afford decent private schools?
It would be very difficult to.
So then
I'm not
you
saying
lose
all,
on both sides.
But there are some countries that can do that. So in these countries, why not give the students the best quality of education?
Well, I think in some schools, the public quality of education, because the budget is high enough and the government shows enough interest, that the public schools in some cases are better than private schools in most countries.
In this case, they should continue paying attention to them. Yeah.
So what I'm
And
saying
they
is
should
that
move-
for private schools to solve the problem, there has to be enough of a prerequisite amongst the parents to be able to afford those
Yeah, we
schools.
need to educate
And if they
parents.
can't afford those schools, chances are public schools are going to be lacking because of lacking funds from the government because the country is poor.
Yeah.
So what's the solution in those cases in
But
poor
again,
countries?
if there is a budget in the school,
Mm-hmm.
and if it is well distributed,
Yeah.
and we know how to use it effectively, we should make the main focus is teachers, because one teacher
Mm-hmm.
can teach other teachers as well as he teaches some classroom.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is one way of doing it effectively. But the whole thing is about concepts, a concept of differentiation. We need to have it in mind when we deal with people.
Mm-hmm.
And as a father, when I give my child, this child, a task, it's not necessarily I give the same task to another
No.
child because he has different capabilities and different abilities.
Mm-hmm.
This should be in our minds. Some people do it by nature. They know that this child cannot do that.
This child's a better leader, so they're in charge of more
Yes.
responsibilities around the
Yes.
house. Even
And
if they
even-
might be younger, they might not be the oldest.
Yeah, some of my relatives, I know that this young girl is really a leader. I mean, she leads her older brother and older sister.
Yeah.
So I know that I can give her some tasks, and she does them
Yeah.
even better than the other 2 children.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a fine line, though, between, let's say, for children specifically, because obviously students is not the same responsibility. If you have several children, there's a fine line between giving them different responsibilities and then giving more responsibility to one of them to the point where it's almost like being unfair with them.
Yeah.
So one of them is expected, let's say, to clean the whole house, while the other one who can't accomplish this is relaxing and watching TV or something.
Yeah. I meant not just different responsibilities.
Okay.
I meant even tasks that match their own interests.
Yeah.
You know that this child does well when he is outside.
Mm-hmm.
Outside. He's in the garden, he's in the park, and he does many things. He loves to work outside the house more than indoors.
Yeah.
So I give him the task that matches his
suits their
need.
personality and their needs.
Yes, and personality as well. It's something very important.
And they have this in some countries, I believe, going on to citizens. They have this in some countries with regards to job placement. So they'll give an exam, let's say, at the end of high school or in college, where it'll estimate based on your answers what best position you would be for in terms of employment.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. And by the way, I found out that it's not necessarily that all people should be PhD holders.
Of course not.
At all, it's not, because you need people in every level.
Well, this is what we find in Islam, which is fard kifaya. It's a communal obligation. If everybody in Islam became doctors, we're not going to have any engineers, we're not going to have any scholars, we're not going to have this, we're not going to have that.
And by the way, I'd like to mention this, that they found that the most educated community in the USA are the Muslim community. They're more educated than any other community. Yeah, it does not mean that this is really ideal, but this is something, of course, positive for the Muslims. Most of them are doctors and engineers.
Yeah, Muslims seem to like these two professions.
Yeah, yet any society needs people to work in different jobs.
Every society needs people to work in maintenance, to work in waste disposal.
Yes, I mean we need carpenters.
I mean, what happens if everybody's a doctor and an engineer? Exactly.
Yeah.
Then we're going to fall apart.
But not only the doctors, we need them to be top on the top, because one doctor who doesn't make mistakes, right, can benefit the society a lot.
Obviously.
And the same thing applies to all fields. But anyway, going back to our main theme, differentiation is very essential in education. Something in the last, I would say, 30 years or 40 years, people were not talking a lot about it. We're not paying the great amount of attention should be given to this.
No, they saw it as, okay, the students are in the classroom, teach them all the same, as long as you cover the materials, that's fine.
And that's why now, to the degree that they get specialized teachers who teach students with different abilities. So they even take those students, and most of the time they spend it with the teacher who is specialized in this area, because he can benefit them more. If the regular classroom teacher can benefit them, let's say 70%, this specialized teacher can benefit them 80 or 85%.
Well, even further than that, and we also have certain limits for the students. If you have a student who's too advanced, chances are they might skip a grade, and they're too advanced for the classroom no matter how much focus the teacher can give them. And the same, likewise, if we have a student who has special needs, so they're way behind the class, they can't keep up, then they might need a special assistant outside of the classroom, correct?
Again, in the past, the word special needs usually refers to something negative. But now every student has special needs, whether he is advanced or whether he is low achievers.
Well, I'm referring more to like people who have, let's say, learning disabilities. Obviously, no matter how much attention the teacher is going to give them, they can't compete with the other students. They can't keep up with them. So in that case, they should have a special classroom, or should they be tutored, or what? How should we differentiate with them? Let's say you have a classroom right now, you have about 20 students, and one or two of them are really, really, really lagging behind. How would you address that?
Either they should go to the special teacher because they can give them a lot of attention. And not only a lot of attention, more specialized attention. Because he or she, the teacher, is specialized in this area, and he can do much better than the regular classroom teacher. So now you see how...
So should schools have a budget where they have this special classroom just in case, or this special teacher just in case?
In fact, the new inspection teams, they kind of push schools to do this.
So sort of like malls and like shopping centers, they have a special section for people who are handicapped, physically handicapped. Even if there's not a single person who might come to that mall, it has to be there as a precaution.
As a precaution.
Okay, so schools should set this up in their budget just in case.
Yes, they do. And now sometimes in some countries they consider that this is a must for the school. And they would write in the report, the school is lacking special education.
So it might not get accredited if it doesn't have that?
For some organization, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, inshallah, we'd like to end the episode. But if there's any last statement you'd like to make, I obviously open the floor to you.
I would say this is enough for this halaqah, inshallah. In other episodes, we can add some tips.
Inshallah Rahman. As always, Jazakallah khair for coming.
Barakallah fi.
It's always a pleasure to have you in the studio with us. And thank you for viewing. And inshallah, we hope to see you in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Oh, the moon has come, the day is done, the night has covered up the sun. I have stood so often before you to pray, but I wonder, Allah, tell me, what did I do today? Did I remember the words of Al-Fatiha? Did I take time to thank you for all that I have? Did I call on you to guide my way? Tell me, what did I do today? I have whispered to you as I made ruku, Subhana Rabbi Aladi. But was my faith bright or grey? Oh Allah, tell me, what did I do today?